What is up, you guys, and welcome to the channel. In today's video, we are going to answer the question whether free weights, barbells and dumbbells, or machines are better to stimulate optimal muscle growth. I often get asked this question because not everybody likes training with free weights, not everybody likes training with a cold hard iron, and some people simply prefer machines or even body weight exercises. And that's totally okay. The answer to this question is if your only goal is to build muscle, then yes, both free weights and machines can achieve that goal both as good as one another. Both free weights and machines can optimally build muscle. Because when it comes to building muscle, there are only three factors which I like to call the golden triangle of building muscle, the golden triangle of hypertrophy when it comes to training. And that is volume, intensity, and frequency. In order to build an optimal amount of muscle, you have to train with a certain amount of volume. I mean, that volume will differ for everybody, but the recent scientific literature has shown us that the optimal amount of volume for most people falls somewhere between 9 to 20 hard sets per muscle group per week. And obviously, when you are a beginner, you will have to train more to the lower side of the volume guidelines because your body simply has to adapt, and each response in relation to training is actually already sufficient, because when you don't train, your weekly volume is zero, and when you start training, even if you only do 3 sets per muscle, 3 sets per training, for example, 3 times per week, you are already hitting a muscle with 9 hard sets per week. And in the beginning, that is more than enough to stimulate a maximum amount of hypertrophy. If you are more advanced, obviously, gradually you will go up to the higher volume end. But for most people, because volume is a complicated topic that I will discuss in another video, but for most people with normal lives, who have jobs, who have responsibilities, who are not professional bodybuilders, but who want to look good, who want to be strong, who want to transform their physique and achieve an amazing looking physique, most people will achieve that by training with 9 to 15 hard sets per week. And when I say hard sets, I'm going to refer to training with the proper training intensity. I'm not talking about lifting extremely heavy weights necessarily for lower reps, but I'm talking about ending a set in close proximity to failure. The optimal rep range to gain muscle, the hypertrophy rep range, falls somewhere between 5 to 6 up until 30 reps per set. And if you end your set in close proximity to failure, I'm talking about 2 to maximum 3 reps shy of failure, you are going to stimulate an optimal amount of hypertrophy. You are going to stimulate an optimal amount of muscle growth on a per set basis if you end a set within 2 to 3 reps shy of failure. That is what it means when I talk about training with the proper intensity. So for example, if you end a set on the 7th rep, but with that certain weight, you could easily do 9 reps because you are 2 reps shy of failure, you will have maximally stimulated a muscle for growth. Same thing happens when you, for example, perform a set of 25 reps with a certain weight. If, for example, your maximum amount of reps you can do with that certain weight is 26 reps, and you end your set with 25 reps, you are 1 rep shy of failure, and that means that you have optimally stimulated a muscle for that set for optimal growth. And then we have the third factor, which is frequency. To make this short, it has been shown that training a muscle group once per week, even if the volume and intensity guidelines are respected, is simply inferior, is not as good as training a muscle group at least twice per week. Me personally, I love training a muscle group 3 to 4 times per week because I love full body workouts. But if, for example, you prefer a split or a upper lower split, or push pull split, whatever, which allows you to train with the recommended volume and intensity guidelines with a frequency of only twice per week, you will normally achieve the same results. That comes down to personal preference. So that is the golden triangle: volume, intensity, and frequency. And that combined together, if you do things right, will result in progressive overload. And progressive overload simply means that you become stronger. It means that you can lift heavier weights for the same amount of reps, or you can lift the same amount of weight for more reps. And that will be the result of neurological adaptation and hypertrophy and muscle growth, because that muscle growth is responsible for making you stronger. And now we go back to the case if machines or free weights are better for that purpose, and they both deliver the same results when it comes to hypertrophy, because when the volume, intensity, and frequency guidelines are respected, progressive overload takes place as a result. And whether you do that with free weights or whether you do that with machines or even body weight exercises, it doesn't really matter. Because, for example, let's take the bench press for the chest, front delts, and the triceps. If you regularly train the bench press, if you regularly practice that movement, you will stimulate your pecs. By stimulating your pecs with the right amount of volume, the right amount of intensity, and the right frequency, you will stimulate muscle growth. As a result, progressive overload will take place because your muscles have gotten bigger and you've become more efficient at the movement. But if I were to do the same thing with a chest press machine, for example, which is, for example, a cable or machine or a plate loaded machine, which allows me to perform the same movement but in a fixed position. If I follow those guidelines of volume, intensity, and frequency, I will also become stronger at that machine. And what I can lift, for example, for 6 to 7 reps will eventually become my 12 rep max. When I reach 12 reps on the machine, for example, with a chest press, I simply add weight, start at 6 to 7 reps again, and build my way up again until I reach 10 to 12 reps. Same thing with the bench press, with the free barbell bench press, or even the dumbbell barbell bench press, or the incline press, whatever. If you use a weight that you can handle, for example, for 6 to 7 reps, you build your way up with that weight to 10 to 12 reps, and then you begin at 6 to 7 reps again, but with a heavier weight, and you work your way up again, you have respected those guidelines that you need for hypertrophy, and as a result, you have gotten stronger. So whether you do that by training with machines or training with free weights, or even body weight exercises, which allow you to perform either heavier variations of the movements, for example, the body weight variation of the chest press or the barbell bench press is the push-up. You can either start doing weighted push-ups, which I absolutely love and think is a fantastic chest builder, or you can start using progressions like archer push-ups and eventually work your way up to one-arm push-ups, which will also result in progressive overload and muscle growth. So one isn't necessarily better than the other when it comes to muscle growth, but it comes down to personal preference. The weights, the machines, your body weight, that is only the tool that you use as a tool of resistance. Whichever tool you use, Make sure that you follow the guidelines of the golden triangle, train with an optimal amount of volume, which is 9 to 20 sets per week. But most people, like I said, that's a topic for another video. Most people will do best, most beginners and advanced lifters will do best between 9 to 15 sets per muscle group per week. Then you have intensity. Make sure to train with the proper intensity and end your set within close proximity to failure. I always advise my clients to end the set with at least in close proximity to failure, and then I mean maximum 2 reps in the tank. And to make sure that you train with a frequency of at least twice per week per muscle group. That's the most important thing for muscle growth, and free weights, machines, or body weight, that is just the tool of resistance that you use to apply these guidelines to. The only thing that I want to add is that when it comes to muscle growth, yes, you can use all three of these tools. You can both use free weights, machines, or body weight. But if you truly want to develop a maximum amount of strength, if you really want to get strong at, for example, lifting really heavy weights, then I do advise that you focus primarily on lifting with free weights, with barbells and dumbbells, because those will also heavily stimulate your nervous system, and as a result, you will be able to contract more muscle fibers during the movement to produce a maximum amount of force. However, machines are not useless here because they are less taxing on the nervous system. They can aid in adding additional amounts of volume when you are in the higher volume phase without bringing additional fatigue to your training. So, if for example you perform 4 heavy sets of bench, but you need more volume in your workouts, but you don't want the additional amounts of fatigue, then you can use machines, for example the chest press, as a additional tool to get in more volume, to stimulate more muscle growth, but without the excessive fatigue that free weights bring with them. So that's how you should look at it. So when it comes to muscle growth, it doesn't matter which one you choose. The most important thing is the golden triangle: volume, intensity, and frequency. I hope I've made things clear for you, and if you got any questions about this topic, comment below. Guys, see you in the next one. Take care.